Inside Business with Lydia. This program enables entrepreneurs share business ideas and learn from each other on how best they can improve their businesses, as well as motivate and encourage other individuals to start up businesses of their own. After learning from business experts, financial experts, and entrepreneurs that we invite on the show, Inside Business with Lydia.
Hello, welcome to yet another exciting episode on Inside Business Talk Show. I am your host Lydia Nyurongo, and on today's episode we discuss the power of saving and investing. To help me highlight more on the matter, I am joined by Mr Munga. Welcome to the program, Mr. Munga. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here, and I want to welcome the viewers and listeners as well out there.
All right, thank you. So, briefly tell us about yourself. Who is Mr. Munga?
Well, that's a very difficult question because obviously it touches on a number of things, and so for one to describe themselves, obviously they want to describe themselves based on the circumstances or obviously what the content of discussion. So within the content that we're having this conversation of, I would say I'm a financial literacy advocate, I'm an educator, I'm an investments advisor as well, and then beyond that, of course, I'm an author, CEO and founder of Possibility Practitioners. I'm a banker as well, and what else? I'm a partner in a company called Venia Developers, so it's a broad number of things that I'm involved in.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is saving and investing?
Okay, when we talk about savings, we're talking about what you set aside.
Okay.
For future use. And so there's obviously an academic definition of savings. A lot of people define savings as your income less your expenses. That becomes what you save. But I tilt the equation around, because a lot of people actually have challenges in saving because of the equation itself. Okay. Because the equation will dictate to you that what you have to save is what remains after you spend. But the concept that should be practical, especially for us this side of the equator, here in Africa, here in Zambia in particular, is that we ought to first of all save. That's when we spend. So we tilt the formula, so it would be what you earn less what you save should be what you spend, so that the constant there becomes your saving. And in that regard, what you save should be a percentage of what you earn. One of the other things that people would want to ask is, how much should I save? So I advise that it shouldn't be in quantum, it shouldn't be a fixed amount, but it should be a percentage of what you earn. So when you work with a percentage, it's easier to do so. So in other words, if you earn 100 kwacha and then you say you'll be saving 10% of whatever you earn, and you earn 100 kwacha, you'll be able to save a 10 kwacha. So if you earn a 1,000 kwacha in a particular month, you'll be able to save 100 kwacha. So that concept works, and it's easy to practice. So savings basically is what you get to set aside after you've earned. In a book called The Richest Man in Babylon, we describe it as paying yourself first. Because remember, when you earn an income, that money is not yours, because it's split amongst many competing needs. Some of them are statutory, some of them are services that you get. So when you get a 1,000 kwacha, for example, in as much as it has hit your bank account, you are obliged to pay, for example, for rentals. If you stay in a rented house, you are supposed to pay from the very 1,000 kwacha, you're supposed to pay for utilities like water and electricity, because you already could have consumed of it. If it's a prepaid arrangement, you need those things. So in savings, what we are saying is, what are you going to set aside before you begin spending that? So that is the concept of saving, basically setting aside or paying yourself first before you begin expensing.
Okay, and then when we talk about investments?
So investments now is a step beyond saving. So after you've saved, remember savings, we've said you've just put aside. So investing now is, how do you make your money work? Okay. So once you've put aside your money, what are you doing to make sure that the money begins to grow? So that is the concept that now shows you the direction that you're going to set concerning the kind of return that you're going to have for what you have saved. So a lot of people actually end up saving because they think that is all there is, so they'll just put money aside. But that becomes a bit of a challenge because there's what we call the future value of money. So the future value of money would tell you that in the next 12 years your 100 kwacha will not have the same purchasing power. You would not be able to buy the same things that you're able to buy today. So how do you protect the purchasing power of that money? It's by investing. So you get that 100 kwacha and look for opportunities out there in the market that can make your 100 kwacha multiply or earn interest, so that by the time you are done, when we are next year, your 100 kwacha should still be able to buy you the things that it's able to buy for you today. So investing, in other words, is making your money work. Okay, so why is it really important for one to invest as well as save? What's the major importance of saving and investing? Two things. From our perspective in Africa, first of all, there's this notion where a lot of people get to save because they feel someday or in the near future something bad or something wrong can happen, or they may face misfortunes that might need them to attend to using their finances. So a lot of people save because of that. Good as it were, I do encourage that people save for opportunities. So saving for opportunities is where you set aside your savings and look for opportunities that will call for you to utilize your savings and then get into the marketplace and probably make that money grow. That way you increase your ability to meet all your financial needs and what we call financial independence. And so for me, that should be the drive. Yes, there are all those things that come in, like, okay, what if I have a bereavement in the family and all that. I think there's a lot of products out there. We see financial institutions, we see insurance companies coming on board to help you manage those eventualities. So for me, I would propose, for example, assuming it was something to do with a funeral, I would propose that you get an insurance in that regard. So for insurance, you won't pay much. But if you use your savings, you will not get that money back once it's spent. But when you insure your family members and all, you have all those things put in place. You insure your properties rather and all. In case anything happens, your TV is stolen, your car is broken into, and all those things, your insurance company will cover you. So when you use your savings in that space, you will not get back your money. Yeah. Okay, so what do you think makes so many people not to save as well as invest? Two things. First of all, saving is a discipline, and a lot of people wait to have a lot for them to start saving. But saving, you start with whatever you have, because remember, if we use the concept of a percentage, 100 kwacha you'll be demanded to save. Say if it's 10%, it's a 10 kwacha. For that one who's earning a 1,000, it will be 100 kwacha. So it works regardless of the amount, and so people wait to say, okay, if I have more, that's when I'll start saving. But then that does not work well. So a lot of people fail because they look out for a time when they will have more. And then the other thing is, for you to start saving, you need to start. So there's no such a time to say, okay, I'm looking for a perfect condition, a perfect time for me to save. You save when you earn. Every time you earn, you set aside whatever percentage you've put for yourself to set aside. Okay. Yeah. So what words can you spread to our viewers as well as our listeners that are following this program in relation to today's topic? The bigger issue around saving, of course, is, look, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and a number of people fail to tap into those opportunities because they may not have the ability to do so. I mean, 5 years from now, we would have moved 5 years in terms of progression, and a lot of things would have changed, but you still remain you. So how do you get to attend to things that will happen 5 years from now? I tell people that, look, the future eventually arrives. So whatever you might be dreading or whatever you might be looking out for, if it's in the future, it will eventually come. So how do you posture yourself for that future? Begin now, start now, because eventually you will get there. So you may start with the little that you think is the little that you have, but for a number of years, cumulatively, it will be substantial enough. So for me, the start point is you start. Exactly. Not planning to start, but you need to start immediately. Not planning to start, you need to start immediately. Okay, despite the amount that you get at the end of the month. Regardless of the amount, so saving is just about you starting, and then you eventually, and you see, it's an issue of a habit being created. Once you do that consistently, 21 times you manage to do that, then you are done. You won't even feel the pressure. I give an example of, you see, for example, when you earn a 500 kwacha as a salary, then all of a sudden the company is generous enough to double your salary. You start earning 1,000 kwacha. A lot of people would discover, even the experiences that we've had, that even the 1,000 kwacha will be consumed in that month. You were initially living on a 500 kwacha and you managed to meet all your expenses. Your salary is doubled, but then you discover that even the 1,000 kwacha is always consumed at the end of the month. So what has changed? There's such a thing as the appetite to spend whenever your income increases. So that is what needs to be tamed. So if you haven't disciplined yourself, even when your income doubles, the appetite to spend will overtake you. So you will find yourself changing your lifestyle, changing the kind of shops that you visit, changing the food that you eat, moving from the apartment that you're in to a bigger house simply because your income has changed. But if you control that, if you control your saving, then you'll be able to attend to everything else that follows after that.
Wow, interesting. I'm sure our listeners as well as our viewers have picked one or two things from the discussion that we are just having. It's really interesting. It's really important to save as well as invest despite the money that you get at the end of the month. Before I let you go, how can people get in touch with you in case they want to purchase some of the products or services that you offer?
Okay, so one of the things that I get to tell people, first of all, is when we talk about savings, investing, investments and the like, I tell people that everybody's an entrepreneur. There's a lot of people that feel like, for me, I wasn't born for this. I wasn't wired for this. I wasn't designed to be an entrepreneur. But you see, everybody is an entrepreneur. Even for you, by the time you are getting the job that you got, you had to sell yourself. When they asked you who you were, there's certain information that you gave them because you knew that that's the information that would sell you. So you are an entrepreneur, and don't be the kind of person that always buys from people. Find something to sell. So I did mention, for example, in the introduction, that I'm an author. I've authored a book, and out of that I've been able to sell. So I sell books. Okay, so the book I've authored is called Take Me to Kaunda, and I've been selling that book. Now beyond that, I write articles for different magazines. There's a magazine that I write for that is based in Germany. I write for two other magazines, one in SA, the other one in the UK. And out of that, through the art of just putting pen to paper, somebody is able to buy the content and all that. And so before we even talk about selling, find out what you like. First of all, what are you good at, and find a way of monetizing that. Get value out of that. If, for example, people love the way you do your makeup and you do it yourself, get an opportunity to have somebody pay for that service so that you can charge them, because they already know that you are good at that. So for me, that is the conversation that I would drive, that everybody must think about what they are able to do with whatever they love. And then beyond that, savings, please, whatever you can, or whichever environment you are in, whatever you may be going through, there's no alternative to that. Just start saving. And I highly recommend actually the book called The Richest Man in Babylon. I always talk about it because it gives you an indication and practical ways of getting you to achieve what you want to achieve. It talks about the discipline of savings first of all, then it talks about investments, since these were in context what we were discussing. So when it talks about investing, you have to invest in something that you are knowledgeable about, or you've brought in an expert to help you manage that space. So get that book, read that book, and then consult with experts. Whatever you want to begin, whether you're an entrepreneur, find out from those people that have been there before, those that are doing the thing that you want to start doing, and then get the necessary knowledge around the subject matter.
Okay, so any direct contact?
How they would get in touch with me. So on Facebook, I use the names Curtis Lloyd, so you can look for Curtis Lloyd, but then you can also look for Possibility Practitioners page on Facebook. And then beyond that, even my phone number, you can get a hold of me through my mobile line, WhatsApp, especially 0967 774306. That's 0967 774306.
Okay, thank you so much. We really appreciate for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so we now call it a wrap, and thank you so much to our viewers as well as our listeners that have been following this program. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more business programs. I am your host, Lydia Nyirongo. Stay tuned to Adu News.